Ever sit in a meeting and feel like it's just a matter of time before someone figures out you don't actually know what you're doing? Most founders I work with, no matter what stage, feel this. The ones pitching investors for the first time and the ones who've raised 100 million. If you're feeling blocked by imposter syndrome, this video is for you. I'm Renita, and I've coached over 1,000 founders on the leadership skills it takes to scale. And I'm going to show you 2 exercises that will help you feel confident and in control, even when you're doing something for the first time. So here's the first thing you need to remember when that inner voice is loudly telling you you don't belong. There's a difference between having imposter syndrome and actually being an imposter. An imposter is someone whose identity exceeds their capability. They're claiming more than they can deliver. So their identity is greater than their capability. Imposter syndrome is the opposite. Your capability exceeds your identity, and you're underestimating how capable you are, and you just keep finding ways to discount it. Your capability is greater than your identity. So let me give you an example. One of my clients was a finance VP at a $50 million startup, and she wanted to step into a CFO role, but was convinced she wasn't qualified. So I said, really? And I asked her to walk me through some of her accomplishments. And get this, she'd led due diligence for a major merger, managing the tax ramifications, integrating e-commerce and wholesale distribution. She'd renegotiated vendor contracts, consolidated ERP systems, led audit compliance efforts, and rebuilt an underperforming team from scratch. Looks like CFO material to me. So I asked her, what would it take for you to feel ready? Well, I'd have to know, what if you were CFO and didn't know something? I'd figure it out, she said right away. And then she laughed because she got it. She wasn't starting from zero. She didn't need to wait until she had all the answers to feel confident. She was ready to take on a CFO role now. As long as you're reaching for that next stage, which is what founders do, there will always be a gap. But you've been building your capabilities all along. Now, obviously, this is a simplified picture. In reality, your capability doesn't grow in this straight linear line. But the point holds. The gap is always there, and it's usually your identity that's lagging behind. And here's the thing. The higher the stakes, the bigger the gap feels. Imposter syndrome creates this illusion that the next stage requires a completely different person, completely different set of skills. But you're not going from tech founder one day to performing open heart surgery the next. So here's the distinction that matters. The next stage might require some new knowledge, but that's relatively easy to fix. More typically for founders, it's about developing the soft skills, knowing how to read a room, manage your own state under pressure, hold your ground in a high stakes conversation. So like I said, the knowledge gap is pretty straightforward to fix. What you want to focus on is the EQ gap, the emotional intelligence. I was working with a founder who just landed a meeting with a potential strategic partner, a big brand name, a deal that could really establish traction for his business. But instead of being excited, he was more focused on thinking he was inadequate. He told me, these people are pioneers in the field. They've been developing this technology for 20 years. I'm going to walk in there and they're going to see right through me. So I asked him, what's the last significant negotiation you closed? And he thought about it, a customer contract, 5 figures. What made it work? Well, he said, I understood what they actually needed, not what they said they needed, what was actually driving the decision. And how did you figure that out? I asked a lot of questions, did my homework, figured out how to handle their concerns. So what's the difference? Because yeah, the basic skills were the same. Sure, the stakes felt higher, but the thing that was going to make or break that meeting wasn't 20 years of industry knowledge. It was exactly what he just described. Being prepared, reading the room, understanding what was actually driving the other side, being better under pressure. So, how do you close the distance between how you see yourself and what you're actually capable of? Well, you need to make the case for moving ahead because your brain is always arguing against it, presenting evidence of what could go wrong and how you'll look bad if you screw up. So here's the first exercise. Inventory what you've already done, your accomplishments. Confidence is like a bank account. If you want to make withdrawals, you need to be making deposits. And most founders never stop to acknowledge what they've actually done. The finance VP had forgotten everything she'd done to lead the merger, rebuild an underperforming team. Just walking through that list shifted something, and you can do the same. The second exercise is to concretize the gap. Imposter syndrome keeps you blocked because it feels vague and overwhelming. So the antidote is to get specific. Here are two lists you can make about a situation where you feel out of your element. The first one is, what do I already know how to do going into this? Let's say you're hiring a VP of sales for the first time, your first senior executive. Well, you've hired people before, you've managed people, you've had conversations where you had to assess whether someone was right for something. So this is not some totally foreign activity. The second question then is, where are the gaps? What do I need to find out? What are the right questions to assess whether someone can build a team, not just close deals? Who's a fellow founder who's made executive hires that I can talk to? Who can I practice the interview conversation with? The goal is to map out what you already know, and that will reveal the gaps so that you can take action. And third, finally, don't assume everyone else has it figured out. Don't assume everyone else feels like they belong. Neil Gaiman, the author, tells a story about finding himself at a gathering of super accomplished people. And he was sort of waiting for the moment when everyone else realized that he didn't deserve to be there. And he started talking to a man next to him in the back of the room who confided that he felt the same way, that he looked at all these people who had made amazing things and wondered what the heck he was doing there. And you know who that man was? The astronaut, Neil Armstrong. So feeling like an imposter isn't a fact. It's just a sign that you're still reaching. It's just part of the human condition. So the question isn't how to make the feeling go away. It's how to stop it from sabotaging you. Here's my challenge for you. Write down 5 things you figured out how to do in the last 30 days that you didn't know how to do before. See if something there doesn't apply to a new situation you're facing. I bet that gap is smaller than you think. Let me know in the comments what you find. I'm rooting for you.